Hey, Sean Roudabush, congratulations on being nominated for Glazier of the Year.
Thanks, John. It's always a pleasure to be, recognized by your peers.
For sure. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, where are you from? And when you were a child, did you think you'd be a Glazier when you grew up?
So I'm originally from Salt Lake City. Parents were from Jersey and Idaho and settled in Salt Lake. And, as a kid, no, I had no idea what a Glazier was. I think my first inclination was I had something to do with donuts.
Actually, every time I try to find like B-roll footage content, they always give me photos of donuts and I have to scroll through everything to find some glass. So how did you get into the glass industry?
I was chasing a girl, and her brother was a glazier. And that took me from Salt Lake to Orange County, California, where I learned how to do custom shower doors. Started off as the kid, running out to the truck to grab the level, handing the screws, handing the plugs, cleaning up at the end of the day.
So maybe starting with that one or not, name a couple companies that you've worked for.
So that was a company called the Coastline Shower Door. And while I worked for them, had my first kid. And things just were so expensive in California at the time, decided to move back to Salt Lake and worked for B&D Glass in Salt Lake. And while I was working for them, they offered an apprenticeship program and teamed up with another local company called Steel Encounters. And going through that and, becoming the helper and then the laborer and then apprentice, it just made sense to go and take this apprenticeship course. And it was ran through the community college, had a union curriculum, and learned a lot. I mean, I still reference some of my books today.
From there, you started your own company?
No, from there, I ended up kind of bouncing between Salt Lake and Arizona. Of course, chasing the girl and trying to raise a family. After I got back to Arizona, I moved to a company called National Mall Front, where with National Mall Front, it was nationwide. We would travel to, I've been to almost every state in the country. Puerto Rico, Canada, Australia, and through that, the travel that being a glazier brought me. I've seen stuff that otherwise would probably never see in my life. So, the trade's taken me all over the place.
And is that the company you did the Scottsdale Fashion Square with?
Scottsdale Fashion Square, we did a lot of work there. My most prominent project there was an Equinox Fitness, which COVID kind of closed it down. We finished the core and shell with my previous employer. And since then, Lifetime Fitness has taken over the project. So that project's kind of brought my career full circle. I finished that project during COVID. After that wrapped up, I decided, I think it's time maybe to try something on my own. It was one of the scariest things I ever did. But started my own company, started doing some smaller projects. And when I say came full circle, the contractor we built the core and shell with reached out and is now one of my largest projects to date as a company owner. I think we've done 27 doors, 20 different hardware packages on those doors, 2,000 square foot of mirror.
That's pretty wild. So you did the core and shell with your previous employer. After that, started your own company and then kind of did the build out inside.
Yep. And I'm currently in process of that. We're at punch list now. Cool. Should be wrapping up in the next week or two. Going to be open to the public, I believe, the beginning or middle of next month.
Sean, how would you define a glazier? And I know it's not donuts.
So a glazier, I mean, we could go to the technical term of what we do by, installing a piece of glass, glazing it into an opening, doors, windows. I think it's a lot deeper than that. As a glazier, you have to be many things. You have to be, number one, you have to be a good mechanic. You have to be able to do a little bit of every trade out there. For example, I've done concrete work, I've done electrical, I've done painting, done framing, and all of these things at some point or another tie into our trade as a glazier. So you don't want to be pigeonholed as simply a glazier. You want to be a good mechanic. You want to understand how to read drawings and understand how especially on entryways. How does the electrical tie in to your door or your hardware package? How are you going to get that electrical hardware? How is it going to be chased? You know, you don't want to just put it in and leave it to the next guy. You know, sometimes drop a pull line so that the electrician come in and tie his contacts or his access controls to your product. So yeah, being a glazer, I think is more of a general term, but I think any good glazer worth his salt, he's a good mechanic.
And how would you define a leader?
I think a leader has to be somebody who's humble, has to be somebody who doesn't think they know everything, because the minute you think you know everything is the minute it's going to bite you. You need to be able to learn from who you're working with, and whether it's a new guy who he's so green his boots still hurt his feet. That kid can teach you something. The old timer, 65 years old, that has to pull his jeans up by the knees to step over a curb, he can definitely teach you a thing or two. So being a good leader, you need to be able to take all of that information that you're seeing and apply it to get the best result possible. And sometimes that means mixing up your crews, putting your seasoned guys with a younger guy and hoping that younger man is picking up that knowledge from the seasoned guy. Sometimes, you want two greenhorns and let them learn from their mistakes, if it's not a high stakes application.
There's also a point of that where the boss or leader that thinks they know everything, eventually that person that they could learn something from will stop trying. So I think that's a really good point. Sean, where do you want to be in 5 years?
5 years from where I'm at now, we've started something good at Cerro Glass. And I think we're well on our way to establishing a respectable company. And currently we're trying to put together a team that is a solid team. Yeah. As I say that, I've got a kid that's working for me, has zero experience, and I've got a man who's 62 years old, who's been doing it for over 40 years. As we're building that team internally, we want to be successful. We want everybody to have the opportunity to grow within that company. And on my journey, I want to bring as many people as I can with me.
What do you need to do between now and then to get there?
That's a great question. And that's an evolving question. It's a living and breathing thing that you deal with every day and try to make the decisions. And hopefully those decisions are in line with our end goal. And right now, I think the current contractors I'm working for, I think I need to nurture those relationships. Instead of working for 40 GCs, I'd rather work for 4 or 5. And as they grow, I'm allowed to grow, allowed to bring in some more team members and grow together. So I think nurturing those current relationships is probably my focus as of now to get to that point in 5 years.
I think that's a great idea. Nurturing relationships is, I would say, very rarely going to negatively affect you and almost always positively affect you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, congratulations again. Thanks for your time and best of luck.
Thanks, John. Definitely appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing how everything turns out.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.